ready. Come here. Did I just respawn again? Why does the DAG have to stop by the store every time they play this build? Because they need to re-up on tampons to stop all this bleeding. Haha, DAG joke of the day. What's going on, DAGs and DAGettes? If you're new to the channel, welcome to Die Again Gaming. I'm your host, Nox, where my favorite thing to do is respawn, and it's not because I'm good, I promise. Due to the popular demand of the Backfire this season, and a bunch of agents from the community asking me to make a build of using the Backfire, I am personally not a big Backfire type of person. You definitely can pump out a lot of damage with the Backfire while being super tanky at the same time. Either way, I went ahead and did my daggone best to try to run this build. Not only will I have one build, not only will I have two builds, but I actually have three different builds that you can run with the Backfire. And the way that I did the loadout for those builds is going to vary depending on what kind of content you're playing and if you're playing solo or in a group. So I will have a build for solo players that you can do open world activities, run missions by yourself. And then I have another build that you can play solo or in a group. And then I have a third build specifically designed for legendary content. Let's get into the Backfire and what does it do and why it's good and why it's not. So the Backfire stacks up 100 times, where one stack gives you 2% critical hit damage, meaning that at max stacks you can do an additional 200% critical hit damage. The critical hit damage does last 10 seconds, and you do have to constantly dish out damage to keep it alive, but it's not too bad to get stacked up. You can usually stack it up within 3 clips, as long as you can hit at least 100 shots out of 150 rounds. While all the damage is awesome and whatnot, it has a really bad side effect where you will bleed for 10 seconds, and the damage scales depending on how many stacks you have. But don't worry, there's a way to get around that whole bleed damage. There's a whole bunch of little gimmicks and mechanics that you can do, but the main one that people are doing is stacking up under hazard protection. If you have enough hazard protection, take a look at this chart right here. It's going to list all the rough estimates of how much hazard protection you need to totally negate that type of status effect. But back to it, as long as you have enough status effect resistance, you could totally negate the whole bleed effect from the Backfire. And that is another negative with this build, I believe personally, is that you have to sacrifice a bunch of attributes or armor mods to put on either bleed resistance or the attributes you could put hazard protection. And you could also equip brand sets or gear sets that has hazard protection built into it. For example, you get 20% from a 2-piece Chaska, you get 10% hazard protection from a 1-piece Y'all, and there's various other branded gear sets that can give you some hazard protection as well, but they're not very ideal. But let's go back to the pros, because having a lot of hazard protection is not necessarily a negative, right? Because you're going to negate all the different hazards and all the different status effects that get thrown at you while you play the game. Say goodbye to the cleaners, the outcast burns, you got the bleeds from the Rikers and the true sons, you got the confusions that gets tossed around from the hyenas and the black tusk, white tusk, you got the shocks, you got the disrupts from the warhounds. If you're going against hunters, you can completely ignore their disrupts. So if you want to play in Catan, having a lot of hazard protection will be very beneficial. At the end of the day, you can weigh out all the pros and the cons, and it's going to come down to how you like to play, your play style, and what you want to run. For me, I'm not a big fan. I don't really care about having a lot of hazard protection. It doesn't really bother me. And I do constantly run the booster hive, which gives me a lot of hazard protection and weapon handling as well. So it's going to be redundant for me to want to put a bunch of hazard protection on my build. So I don't know. We'll just take a look at the builds. Let me know what you think, what you would change. So let's get right into the first build. This is the build I put together for solo play with the Backfire when you want to do open world activities or run missions by yourself. I got the gunner specialization. We got the Backfire SMG. It comes with the talent payment in kind. You get a bunch of critical hit damage. For the secondary, you can run whatever you want, put any shotgun that you want. I got the M870 with the pommel talent. Same thing with the sidearm, you can run whatever you want. I have a TI card custom in its place. For the cores, I have 6 reds, 1 blue, and 1 yellow. I am running the Ninja Bike Messenger backpack because it gives you all 3 cores. I have critical hit damage armor mod. It comes with the talent Resourceful, which allows me to unlock more of my brand set and gear sets. For the mask, I have 1 piece of Y'all with hazard protection, critical hit chance, critical hit damage armor mod, and the brand set is giving me 10% hazard protection, 10% weapon damage. For the chest piece, I have a Cheska, which is going to give me 8% critical hit chance, 20% hazard protection. I got a double crit with a 12% crit damage armor mod, and I'm running it with the talent Obliterate. And for the final 3 pieces, I have Hunter's Fury. It's going to give you a lot of amplified damage and crowd control. Here's the gloves, knee pads, and the holster. And honestly, I don't need all this hazard protection. And I could change these out if I wanted to, but because I am running the booster hive, which is going to give me weapon handling and hazard protection. And right now it is buffing my hazard protection and weapon handling by 40.6%. So if you do want to run the booster hive like I'd like to run, you can change out some of these pieces, as you will not need as much hazard protection on your loadout. And you can strictly rely on the booster hive for all your hazard protection needs with the Backfire. For the secondary skill, I'm running the Banshee Pulse to give me another source of crowd control. And it works really well for open world activities because you can get to jump on enemies, hit them with the Banshee Pulse, and start taking out the enemies and applying more crowd control because of Hunter's Fury. And the Banshee Pulse can come in clutch if you're in a pickle as well. For the active modifiers, you can run whatever you like. I have Tac Link, but I don't really use it, especially because I'm playing solo. I prefer to have the passive modifiers active 100% of the time. And for this passive modifiers, I have Safety First, giving me more hazard protection. I got Multitasker, giving me weapon damage, armor, and a skill tier. And finally, I'm running the best kind of defense to give me headshot damage. And if you're like me and not planning on using active modifiers, this is actually going to give you more damage than loaded out. But if you are planning on using an active modifier, you're definitely going to want to use loaded up. For the stats with all the modifiers maxed out at tier 5, I'm sitting at 70% critical hit chance, 144% critical hit damage, and 97.5% headshot damage. Sitting at 1.1 million armor, I got 330,000 armor on kill, and I'm sitting at 87.5% hazard protection. And this is what I was saying, you don't really have to run hazard protection on your build if you're going to run the booster hive, because the booster hive at skill tier 2 is going to give you a little bit over 40% hazard protection. For legendaries, I have the Gunner Specialization, the Backfire, of course. I got an ACS 12 Rock and Roll, the Orbit Sidearm. I have one piece Y'all gear that has a 10% hazard protection, and for the attributes, 10% hazard protection, critical hit chance, and 13% protection from elites. The Memento backpack comes with all 3 cores. I have a 12% protection from elites on it. And the Talon's kill confirmed both long-term and short-term buffs are really awesome. It's going to give me all that bonus armor, more weapon damage, all the good stuff. And the skill efficiency is going to be really nice to give my shield more health and let me use my Gemmer Pulse more often. And finally, I have 4 pieces of strikers, and I'm going to have them all statted the same with hazard protection. The chest piece is going to have that 30% protection from elites. And the reason why I'm running the chest piece is because this is mainly for legendaries. You're actually going to be able to keep those stacks up pretty easily because the enemies are going to be more tanky. Here's the gloves, the knee pads, and the holster. For the skills, I have the Crusader Shield and I have the Gemmer Pulse, but you could switch this out with anything you'd want. But for legendaries, I like the Gemmer Pulse because it's going to take care of all of those suicide drones and whatnot that the Void Toss like to throw at you. For the active modifiers, I don't really use them when I'm playing in a group for legendary missions. While you do get the short-term boost, it's just really nice. I just find that the passive modifiers are a lot more beneficial when it comes to running legendaries and being up in the front of the face of enemies. And by saying that, in no means do I mean that the active modifiers are not good. It goes both ways. You can use the active modifier, or you could be like me who doesn't use the active modifiers. It's going to be up to you and how the team is working. If I'm in the front, I prefer to have my passive modifiers be always active. It's going to come down to your judgment if you should use it or not. The Assault Link definitely does give you a lot of damage. On activation, you do quadruple your attributes and double your passive modifier, so that's going to give you a big boost of damage for the duration that it lasts. But if you're the only one in the front of the group and you're taking the blunt of the damage, I prefer not to activate it. That way I have my other passive modifiers fully stacked always, and then I don't have to worry about restacking the attributes anymore. And the way I like to run my passive modifiers, I have Safety First to give me the hazard protection. Extra Petting is going to give me 30% protection from elites, which is going to be very helpful. And then I have Loaded Up to give me a little bit more damage. But if you are planning to constantly use your active modifiers, something like this won't really benefit you, so you can swap it for something like a tier a day, which is going to give you some more health. The best kind of defense can be beneficial. It's not too hard to trigger. You just got to level up your firearms tiers a little bit. But for the most part, I do like these 3 more. For the stats with the modifiers off, I'm sitting at 52% critical hit chance, 60% critical hit damage, 70% headshot damage. I get 200k armor on kill. Once Memento stacked up, I'm going to get a bunch of armor regeneration. Right now, I'm sitting at 70% hazard protection, but that's going to be at cap when I activate the modifiers. And now you can see with the modifier is activated, I'm sitting at 100% hazard protection. And with my 3 armor mods, I'm sitting at 38% protection from elites, but that's going to go up to 68 once the passive modifiers kick in. And this is going to allow me to tank those elites a little bit better while I focus on taking out the reds and purples first. And that's about it for the loadout that I would run for legendaries. Let me know what you guys think. And when I'm not running legendaries, I'm just doing heroic or below content, this is the loadout that I would rock actually. I'm still going to be rocking the gunner specialization, the Backfire of course. I got an ACS 12 with the brazen talent, the orbit for the sidearm, still rocking the momentum backpack with the critical hit damage armor mod. Then I'm rocking 1 piece of y'all gear with hazard protection, critical hit chance, critical hit damage armor mod with obliterate. And finally I got 4 pieces of striker. Here's for the mask, the gloves, the knee pads, and the holster. And it doesn't really matter where you put the critical hit chance or the critical hit damage. You just want to get as close to 60% as possible and dumping the rest into critical hit damage. For the skills, I got the Crusader Shield and the Booster Hive. For the cores, you can run as many blues or reds. You can mix and match however you like to play. Having 3 or 4 blue cores is going to be more than enough for heroic content. You can even lean heavier into the red cores if you want. You can even run this with all red cores if you're feeling a little spicy. For the stats, I'm sitting at 58% critical hit chance, 132 critical hit damage, 70% headshot damage. I got 143k armor on kill. Once memento stacked up, I'm going to get a bunch of armor regen. Right now, I'm sitting at 52.5% hazard protection, but that's going to go up a little bit more once I get more of the blue tiers. And for the rest of the hazard protection, I'm going to rely on my booster hive for that. For the skills, I got the Crusader Shield, and I got the booster hive for weapon handling and hazard protection. I really like the booster hive for heroic and below content because it's going to allow me to reload my gun faster, shoot more often, better accuracy, more stability, swap speed if I need it. And it's also going to give me a bunch of hazard protection for myself and my teammates. For the active modifiers, I have Assault Link, but you can run whichever one you want. I personally don't really use them that often. For the passive modifiers, I have Safety First. I like Multitasker because I don't use the active modifiers that often. And I have Loaded Up. But if you do use the active modifiers, you can swap this out for the best kind of defense to give yourself some more headshot damage. It's going to come down to how you like to play, so just mix and match the passive modifiers how you see fit to your play style. There's definitely a lot of ways you could play with the Backfire. This is not like the only way to play it. It's just the way that I would play it. So definitely let me know how bad you thought I was playing with the Backfire and what I should change. That is all for now, Dags. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know which one of the 3 loadouts was your favorite and which ones you would run and what tweaks you would make. Happy farming out there. Happy cheek clapping out there. And make sure you don't get your cheeks clapped.